The wind bit through my thin sweater as I stood at the tall steel gate of Tavian's mansion in Eastwood Heights. My small travel bag hung loosely from my hand, the weight nothing compared to the heaviness in my chest. I pressed the call button, hoping, praying, my son would open the door. Instead, Marissa's face appeared on the gate camera. Her lips were tight, her eyes cold. "Elora, we can't take care of you right now. Please leave." At first, I thought I heard wrong. "Maris, that's late. Let me inside. I only need a place to rest tonight. Please call Tavian."
"He's busy," she said.
"And we've discussed this. We're not able to take on extra responsibilities." Extra responsibilities. That was what I had become. My throat tightened. "Maris, I am his mother." She didn't even blink. The camera light clicked off. The gate lock snapped shut like a door closing on my whole life. My legs trembled, and I grabbed the gate for balance, but the cold metal only made my fingers ache. I tried to call Tavian, but the call rang once and ended. A sharp pain pushed through my chest. The world tilted. I collapsed on the driveway as darkness swallowed me. When I opened my eyes again, strange faces leaned over me. 2 neighbors, an elderly couple I didn't know, helped me sit up. My head throbbed. My body shivered uncontrollably. "Are you all right?" "You fainted," the woman said gently. I tried to smile, but my voice came out cracked. "I'll be fine. Thank you." I reached for my phone with shaking hands and dialed my daughter Nara. She didn't pick up. I tried again. This time a message buzzed through. "I'm in a conference. Don't come to my place. Don't come." The words stung harder than the cold wind. It hit me then, this wasn't an accident. Tavian and Nara must have talked. They had both chosen to push me away on the same night. My heart tightened until it hurt to breathe. I stood slowly, leaning on the gate for support. I didn't know where to go. My legs felt weak. My bag felt heavier than before. Then, across the dim street, I saw a figure walking toward me. I squinted, thinking I was imagining things. But as he came closer, the man called my name with certainty. "Elora?" I froze. I knew that voice. And he kept walking toward me, with a look of concern etched across his face. "Corin?" I whispered, shocked. It had been decades since I last saw him. He had been a struggling young man back then, lost, hungry, and nearly homeless. Until I took him in for a few months and helped him get back on his feet. He rushed to my side. "Elora, what happened? Why are you out here like this?" His voice carried the same warmth I remembered. Shame burned in my chest. I came to see my son, but they won't let me in." His eyes darkened, anger flashing for a moment, but he kept his voice steady. "You're trembling."
"Come with me.
"My house is close." I tried to refuse out of habit, the same old pride rising in me, but my body betrayed me. My knees buckled slightly and he caught my arm. "No arguing," he said gently. "Let me help you this time." Inside his modest home, he wrapped a blanket around my shoulders and gave me warm tea. I felt the heat spread through my fingers, melting the numbness. But it couldn't melt the ache in my heart. As I sat there, the emotions I had held in for years finally cracked open. Tears spilled down my face. Corin sat across from me and asked quietly, "Elora, tell me what they did to you." I swallowed hard. It started long before tonight. The memories came back slowly, like old wounds reopening. I stared at the steam rising from the tea as I spoke. After my husband died in that factory accident, everything changed. Tavian and Nara were still so small. I worked 2 jobs to feed them, sometimes 3. I sold my wedding jewelry just to buy their school uniforms. Corin listened without interrupting. "I promised myself I would give them a better life," I continued. Even when I was exhausted, even when the world felt cruel, I kept pushing. My voice cracked as another memory surfaced. But someone betrayed me back then. Someone who said they wanted to help us. Corin leaned forward. "Who?" I hesitated, the name heavy on my tongue. I had kept this secret buried for years, believing silence would protect my children. But now, after what they had done to me, Silence felt like a mistake. It was someone from the school, I finally said. Someone I trusted. Corin frowned. Elora, you don't have to protect them anymore. Tell me. I stared into the cup, seeing my younger self reflected back, tired, hopeful, alone. It was Miss Halden, I whispered. She stole the scholarship Tavian earned. Corin's eyes widened in disbelief. The room grew still after I mentioned Miss Halden. Corin shook his head slowly. She was respected back then. Everyone trusted her. She used that trust, I said. The memory still felt fresh, even after all those years. Tavian had worked so hard. He earned a scholarship that would have changed his life. But when I went to collect the documents, Miss Halden told me it had been withdrawn. Later, I found out she embezzled the funds. Corin's jaw tightened. And you stayed silent? I had no choice, I whispered. She threatened me. She said if I spoke, Tavian would be removed from the school and labeled a trouble case. I couldn't risk that. I thought protecting him meant giving up my voice. I rubbed my hands together, trying to stop their trembling. But that wasn't the only thing. Tavian changed as he grew older.
So, did Nara.
After he won another scholarship, he became proud, almost arrogant. And when Nara went to boarding school, she grew distant, like she was ashamed of where she came from. Corin sighed deeply. Elora, they shouldn't treat you this way. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. He checked the screen, his eyes narrowing. This is about Tavian and Nara, he said slowly. And it's big. Corin handed me his phone, and as soon as I saw the screen, my stomach twisted. A headline glowed across the top. Young CEO Tavian Arlo shares his rise from nothing. It was a clip from a talk show. I tapped it with shaky fingers. Tavian sat on a bright stage, smiling confidently. When the host asked about his childhood, he laughed lightly and said, I built my success myself. No one helped me. I had nothing growing up. Nothing? Was I nothing? My chest tightened as the video continued. He spoke about working hard alone, never mentioning the nights I stitched clothes until dawn just to feed him, or the days I starved so he could eat. My heart cracked further when Nara appeared in another segment from her podcast saying, Our mother was always a burden. We had to break free. Those words struck deeper than any knife. Back in the present, my palms grew sweaty. Corin watched me carefully. Elora, they're lying to the world about you. I wanted to scream, but only tears came. Corin placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. You can respond. You don't have to stay silent anymore. I stared at the frozen image of my children on the screen, feeling something inside me shift. Before I could speak, Corin's phone buzzed again. The buzz echoed in the quiet room. Corin checked the message, frowned, then handed the phone to me. Look. It was a short video, already starting to go viral. It showed Tavian stepping out of a car, pushing aside a reporter who asked about his mother. He snapped, I have no comment about that woman. That woman. My heart clenched. I felt myself trembling again, but this time it wasn't from weakness. It was something else, something rising from years of pain. Corin knelt beside me. People are starting to ask questions. They want to know who he's talking about. I wiped my tears, but they kept falling. If I speak, Tavian will come after me. He has money, power, connections. You also have the truth, Corin said gently. And you're not alone. Before I could answer, someone knocked hard on the door, 3 loud, firm bangs that made my whole body stiffen. Corin stood quickly. Stay here. I'll check. My heart pounded as I listened to footsteps move toward the entrance. I heard voices low, tense, angry. Then Corin called out, Elora, you need to come. Fear settled in my bones. When I stepped into the hall, Tavian stood there, flanked by 2 bodyguards. Tavian's eyes were cold, nothing like the boy I once cradled. He stepped forward, ignoring my shaky breath. Mother, you shouldn't be here. And you shouldn't be talking to strangers about family matters. Corin moved slightly in front of me, but Tavian raised a hand. I'm not here to argue. I'm here to warn you. My voice trembled. Warn me? Tavian, you locked me out. I fainted outside your house. He glanced away, embarrassed or maybe annoyed. You put yourself in that position. But this, he pointed at Corin, stops now. Don't talk to anyone. Don't go public. Don't tell stories that will destroy everything I've built. Stories? My voice cracked. Do you mean my life? One of the bodyguards shifted, and Corin's jaw tightened. But before things could escalate, Mila, Corin's journalist friend, stepped out from the kitchen doorway, phone in hand. She had been recording. Tavian noticed and lunged forward. Turn that off. It's already saved, she said calmly. Tavian's face reddened with fury. If you release anything, all of you will regret it. He stormed out, the door slamming behind him. My knees felt weak. Mila looked at me and whispered, that clip could change everything. Mila didn't wait. Within an hour, she uploaded a short, anonymous video showing Tavian threatening an elderly woman, my voice blurred, my face hidden. The internet caught fire instantly. Comments flooded in. Who treats an elder like this? This man is heartless. Where is his mother? My hands shook as I scrolled. Strangers cared more about me than my own children did. But fear sat heavily in my chest. Mila, what if Tavian retaliates? He already has, she said softly. This time you fight back. That evening, my phone buzzed repeatedly. Unknown numbers. Reporters. Bloggers. Then one message came through that made my breath stop. A voice note from Nara. I pressed play slowly. Her voice cracked with tears. Mom, please don't do this. Please don't let them reveal your identity. I didn't know Tavian would threaten you like that.
Can we talk?
Alone. My heart twisted. Despite everything, a part of me still longed for my daughter. Corin watched carefully. You don't have to go if you're scared. But I shook my head. She came to me. That means something. I need to hear what she has to say. As I prepared to leave, a strange mix of hope and dread filled me. I didn't know which one would win. I met Nara at a quiet park just after sunset. She sat on a bench, hugging herself tightly. When she saw me, her eyes filled with guilt. Mom. I'm sorry, she whispered. I sat beside her, keeping a small distance. Why now, Nara? Why come only after the world started watching? She wiped her cheeks. Because Maurice told Tavian to cut you off. She said you would ruin his image. I didn't fight him. I agreed. I was wrong. Her voice shook. I should have stood up for you. I didn't. I let him push you away. Pain washed over me, but I stayed silent. Then her phone rang. The color drained from her face. She answered quietly, listened, then ended the call without speaking. What is it? I asked. My company, she whispered. The board wants answers about the video. They know it's Tavian. They know he threatened someone old. They're demanding a statement. They think it might be you. Wind rustled the trees above us. Nara clutched her phone like it might explode. Mom, please don't reveal yourself. If the public finds out you're our mother, everything will collapse. I stared at her trembling hands. For once, she wasn't cold or distant. She was scared. I followed Nara to a small cafe where we could talk without interruption. She sat across from me, twisting a napkin in her hands. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Mom, I need to tell you the truth. I didn't just stay silent. I helped Tavian push you away. My stomach tightened. Why, Nara? What did I do so wrong? She wiped tears quickly, almost like she was ashamed to show them. It wasn't you. It was Maurice. She spent years convincing Tavian that you would hold him back. She said you were trying to take his success. She made him believe you wanted his money. My chest ached. And you believed that? No, she said quickly. But I didn't fight it. I didn't want to argue with him. He listened to Maurice more than anyone. I thought staying quiet would keep the peace. Silence filled the space between us. I felt a strange mix of anger and sadness. My children had grown up, but somewhere along the way they had grown away from me too. Before I could respond, Nara's phone buzzed again. She glanced at the screen and froze. Her face turned pale. What is it?
I asked.
She whispered. Tavian, he knows I'm meeting you. Nara ended the call without answering. Her hands shook so hard, she had to place them on the table. Mom, if Tavian finds out I told you anything, he'll say, I ruined everything. My job is already on the line. I might get suspended tomorrow. I reached across the table and touched her hand gently. Nara, the truth is not your enemy. She looked away, but Tavian is terrified. He thinks the world will destroy him. He keeps saying that if the public finds out you're a mother, everything he built will fall apart. The words stung. So, he chose to erase me to protect himself. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Mom, please don't go public. Please don't say anything. I'm begging you. But I shook my head slowly. I stayed silent for too long. Silence didn't protect me. It only gave others power. Later that evening, I returned to Corin's home. Mila was waiting with her camera equipment already set up. She stood when she saw me. Elora, it's time. If you don't speak, Tavian will twist the story. He already started. My heart pounded. My whole life, every sacrifice, every wound, rose to the surface. I took a long, steady breath. Start the camera, Mila, I said. I'm ready. I sat in front of the camera, hands trembling. Mila adjusted the lighting and gave me a reassuring nod. Just speak from your heart, she said softly.
So I did.
I talked about my husband's death, the nights I worked until my hands bled, the times I went hungry so Tavian and Nara could eat. My voice broke when I spoke of selling my wedding jewelry, of walking miles to their school because I couldn't afford the bus, of comforting them through sickness and exams and heartbreak. Then I spoke about the betrayal, about being locked out, about fainting on the cold concrete outside my son's mansion. When I finished, there was a long, heavy silence. Mila's eyes were red. Corin stood near the door, jaw tight with emotion. We'll release it anonymously, Mila said gently. Your voice will speak for itself. Within hours, the testimony was online. By morning, the internet had exploded. Hashtags appeared everywhere. People posted messages calling Tavian and Nara ungrateful. Investors pulled out of Tavian's company. Nara's podcast was swarmed with angry comments. The world didn't know my name yet, but they knew my pain. And for the first time in years, I felt seen. The relief didn't last long. By midday, bloggers had begun digging. One popular channel posted a video titled, "We found the mother behind the viral testimony." They showed my blurred photo from an old community event, matched my voice to past clips, and mentioned my name, Elora Arlo. In less than an hour, reporters swarmed Corin Street. Cameras flashed outside the windows. Microphones pressed against the door. People shouted questions through the fence. Corin shut the curtains. They're not leaving anytime soon. My heart raced. I didn't want this kind of attention. Mila put a hand on my shoulder. This happens when the truth hits hard. But you're not alone. Then a sudden knock came from the gate, loud and impatient. Corin peeked through the curtains. His face shifted. It's her. I frowned. Who? He swallowed. Ms. Halden. My breath caught. She stood outside the gate, sharp-eyed and confident, as if she still controlled everything around her. I stepped onto the porch despite Corin's warning. Ms. Halden's gaze locked on mine. Elora, she said, her voice low and threatening. We need to talk. A chill ran through me. This confrontation had been waiting for decades. Ms. Halden's eyes narrowed as I approached the gate. You should stop dragging my name into your personal problems, she said. I hear you've been telling stories about a scholarship. My voice felt steady for the first time. They weren't stories. You stole from my son.
She scoffed.
You can't prove anything. Bringing my name into your drama won't help your situation. But before I could reply, Mila stepped beside me, phone in hand. Actually, we can prove it. Ms. Halden froze. Mila held up a folder. I found old financial records linked to the school accounts. The missing scholarship money went straight to an account under your name. For the first time, Ms. Halden's confident expression cracked. You don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I do. Mila said calmly. And soon everyone else will too. Ms. Halden glared at me, hatred burning in her eyes. If you don't stop this, you'll regret it. She turned sharply and walked away, but I noticed the stiffness in her steps. The fear. As soon as she disappeared down the street, I let out a shaky breath. Mila, are you sure about those documents? Absolutely, she said. I already sent them to a legal team. Her world is about to fall apart. For once, the power wasn't in her hands. It was in mine. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, the image of my children in that restaurant flashed through my mind, laughing, relaxed, full of life. And I wasn't part of it. I had become a shadow walking behind them, forgotten even while standing in plain sight. The next morning, Jalen found me already awake, staring out the window of his tiny living room. He handed me a warm cup of tea. You didn't sleep, he said softly. I shook my head. How did you know? You're a mother, he replied. Mothers don't sleep when their hearts are heavy. That simple statement almost broke me. I don't know what I did wrong, I whispered. I gave them everything. Everything. Jalen sat beside me. Sometimes giving everything makes them believe they don't have to give anything back. His words landed like a quiet truth I had avoided for years. That afternoon, I received a message from the hospital reminding me of my follow-up appointment. I thought of asking Nara or Tavian for help, but I already knew the answer. So I went alone again, walking slowly, each step heavy with disappointment. As I sat in the waiting room, a question echoed in my mind. How do you heal from pain caused by the ones you birthed? During the examination, Dr. Lorne reviewed my latest results with a mixture of caution and concern. Your heart is stabilizing, she said, but the emotional strain is still evident. Stress this severe, it doesn't disappear without support. Support. The word returned again, sharp as a needle. She sat down across from me. Mrs. Halden, may I ask, are you still in contact with your children? I hesitated. They're occupied. Life has taken them far. The doctor studied me carefully, reading between the lines. You deserve a support system that shows up. Healing is not only physical. Tears welled behind my eyes, but I forced myself to smile. I'll manage. When I walked out of the hospital, the world felt heavier than before. I crossed the street slowly, unsure of where to go next, when a familiar voice called my name. Mrs. Halden. I turned to see Jalen jogging toward me, breathless. I told you I'd meet you after your appointment. I blinked, startled. You remembered? Of course, he said. I'm keeping my word. We walked together in silence. And for the first time in a long time, someone matched my pace, not rushing ahead, not leaving me behind. A stranger caring more than my own children. Life was cruel in strange ways. That evening, as we settled back into Jalen's apartment, he cleared his throat. Can I ask you something personal? I nodded. What happened between you and your children? You speak of them with so much love, but they treat you like, he stopped, choosing his words carefully, like someone disposable. I stared at the tea in my hands. It didn't happen all at once. It happened slowly, little disappointments, small distances, things I ignored because I loved them too much to see the truth. I told him how I worked 3 jobs to raise them, how I skipped meals so they could eat, how I sold my wedding ring to pay Tavian's final tuition, how I covered Nara's hospital bills when she fell sick years ago. And when they finally became successful, I whispered, they forgot the stairs they climbed and the woman who built them. Jalen sighed heavily. You didn't deserve that. Love is not a guarantee, I said quietly. You can pour your whole soul into someone and still be handed emptiness. His jaw tightened with emotion. Then I'll help you. You're not alone. His sincerity warmed something inside me, a place my children had left cold for years. Over the next few days, Jalen became my constant support. He cooked simple meals, reminded me to take my medication, and even forced me to nap when I insisted I was fine. I had never been taken care of before, not like this. One afternoon, he returned home with a grocery bag and an envelope. This came for you, he said, placing it on the table. My heart skipped when I recognized the handwriting.
Tavian.
Hands shaking, I opened the envelope. Inside was a short note. Mom, Maurice said you came by. You shouldn't have. Things are tight for us right now. I hope you're okay. Tavian. No, how are you? No, where are you staying? No, I'm sorry. Just distance wrapped in polite dismissal. I folded the note gently, as though it were fragile. He's alive, I whispered, trying to find comfort in the smallest things. Jalen watched me with quiet anger. That's all he wrote? I nodded. He doesn't deserve your tears, he said firmly.
But they fell anyway.
Later that night, I sat alone by the window, clutching the note. I realized the truth I had been avoiding. My children weren't confused. They weren't busy. They had simply chosen a life where I didn't exist. And I didn't know how to stop loving them. The next morning brought a kind of clarity that felt both freeing and devastating. I woke with an ache in my chest, not from illness, but from realization. I had spent so many years living for my children that I no longer knew how to live for myself. As I sat at the edge of the bed, Jalen came in with a bowl of warm porridge. You look different today, he observed. Maybe I'm finally seeing things clearly, I replied. He sat beside me. Seeing what? That love is not supposed to be begged for, I whispered. Respect shouldn't be earned by suffering. And a mother shouldn't have to chase her grown children, especially when she can barely stand. Jalen nodded with quiet understanding. So what now? I took a deep breath.
Now,
I rebuild, even if it's from nothing. He placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. You're not alone in that. His kindness felt like a lifeline. For the first time since the night I collapsed on the street, I felt a flicker of strength, small, fragile, but real. I didn't know what the future held. But I knew this much. I would rise again. Whether my children returned or not, my life wasn't over. And that realization was the first step toward healing. Days passed quietly, and I tried to keep my mind busy. Jalen encouraged me to take small walks, read, and even help him water the tiny plants on his balcony. It wasn't much, but every little task felt like pulling myself back into life. One afternoon, while cleaning the drawer beside the bed Jalen had given me, I found an old envelope with my husband's handwriting. I froze. I remembered keeping his letters safe after his death, but I didn't recall seeing this one before. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a note he had written shortly before the factory accident. Elora, if anything happens to me, please look into the truth. They lied to us. Someone inside the company changed my shift that night. Someone wanted me there. My breath caught. Someone wanted him there? My husband's death wasn't an accident. The handwriting was faint, but clear. And at the bottom, he had written one name.
Halden.
My heart rattled inside my chest. No, I whispered. It can't be. Ms. Halden. The same woman who stole Tavian's scholarship. The same woman who tormented me when I was young. Had she been tied to my husband's death too? Before I could gather my thoughts, I heard Jalen calling my name. And I clutched the letter tightly, knowing everything was about to change. I showed the letter to Jalen and Mila later that evening. Mila's eyes widened as she read it. Elora, this is serious. If this is true, Ms. Halden isn't just corrupt. She might be responsible for covering up a death. I sat shaking, unable to breathe evenly. I never imagined. We're not accusing anyone yet, Mila said gently. But we're going to investigate. The next days moved like a storm. Mila contacted an old colleague who had access to archived factory records. We waited anxiously, every hour stretching like a year. Finally, she returned with the truth. The record showed that my husband's shift had been swapped without explanation. The supervisor who signed off on it had been directly connected to Ms. Halden. Payments, favors, backdoor transactions, they were all there. When Mila revealed everything online, people reacted with shock and anger. My story, already painful, now took on a darker edge. Reporters called non-stop. Social platforms exploded with support. And then, one evening, just as Jalen was locking the door, my phone rang.
Tavian.
His voice cracked into the silence.
Mom, I'm so sorry.
I didn't know.
I didn't know any of this.
For the first time in years, I heard my son weep. Tavian arrived the next morning, looking nothing like the confident man who once dismissed me. His eyes were swollen, his shoulders slumped, and he couldn't meet my gaze. Mom, he whispered. I was wrong. Everything I said, everything I believed, it wasn't mine. Maris shaped all of it. She told me you were manipulative. She told me you wanted to take from us. She made me think you were a burden. I listened quietly. Painful truths don't need to be pushed, they fall on their own. He wiped his face. But that's not an excuse. I let her turn me against you. I let success blind me. I let pride swallow me. Silence hung between us. I took a deep breath. Tavian, forgiveness isn't something you ask for and walk away with. It takes change. Real change. I know, he said quickly. Just give me a chance. Let me try to fix things. His voice broke again, softer this time. I can't lose you, Mom. I looked at him, my firstborn, who once held my hand as a child, who now stood before me as a man finally seeing the truth. I'm hurt, I admitted, but I'm still your mother. He nodded, tears falling freely. Then let me come home to you, he whispered. Later that week, Nara visited as well. She walked in slowly, her eyes red. Mom. Tavian told me everything. I'm ashamed. I'm so ashamed. I held her hands gently. You followed him because he was strong. But strength without kindness is dangerous. She cried softly. Can we fix this? Please. I took a moment before answering. Yes, if you both prove yourselves. No more empty promises. No more disappearing when you feel comfortable. They nodded, desperate, remorseful. Over the next days, they showed real effort. Tavian helped me organize my documents, and Nara accompanied me to my hospital checkups. They cooked for me, called often, and apologized even when it hurt their pride. But I wasn't rebuilding my life through them anymore. I was rebuilding it with my own strength. One morning, a letter arrived from a national foundation. I stared at it for a long moment before opening it. Inside was an offer I never expected, a grant to start a community program for abandoned elders. A home. A safe place. Something I once needed but never had. My hands shook with disbelief. They want me to lead this? Jalen smiled proudly. You earned it. Every part of your story made you the perfect person for this. For once, I believed him. The grand opening of the Elder Haven home took place under a soft golden sky. Volunteers bustled around, arranging chairs, hanging ribbons, preparing refreshments. Tavian and Nara stood beside me, helping greet guests. Their faces held humility this time, not pride. People gathered from across the city, supporters, journalists, neighbors, strangers who had followed my story online. Even those who once doubted me now offered warm smiles and gentle hugs. As I prepared to cut the ribbon, Jalen stepped forward with a small wooden box. Before you begin this new chapter, he said, I want to give you something. My heart fluttered as I opened it. Inside was a bankbook, an account he had started in my name 30 years ago. I promised myself, he said softly, that if life ever pushed you down, I would make sure you could stand again. I covered my mouth as tears spilled. Jalen, why would you do this? Because you saved me when I was young, he replied. Now it's my turn. I hugged him tightly, overwhelmed by the full circle of kindness. When I finally cut the ribbon, the crowd clapped, the cameras flashed, and I felt a quiet strength rise inside me. I wasn't just a mother abandoned. I was a woman reborn. And as the doors opened, I stepped forward, free, healed, and finally home.